Season 1, Episode 5 of Avengers. The Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, the show is called. Season 1 of Episode 5. I think it's Episode 5. Anyway, this is when it really starts to expand upon the universe they're building up with the Avengers in the show. Like, really expand. Like, it has, like, several stories in it. One being Ant-Man's story, the first one. The second one being more of Wasp's story. And the last one being more of Black Panther's story. And how he came to be. T'Challa's Black Panther, how he got on the Black Panther, became the Black Panther and stuff. So, first we're going to go through them in order. And all of the stories get a 10 out of 10 separately on their own. And this episode gets a 10 out of 10. Okay? Now I'm going to talk about the each story as its own story. And they don't really they don't really touch now. Well, unless you know, they don't really touch yet. They're more just exploring different parts of the universe that live within the Marvel comics, and basically doing adaptation of that in this one episode. Different stories within Marvel comics, while with these different characters that just and on different tones of stories, and exploring those different tones in very brief moments. But it also feels very epic at the same time. All three stories, for some reason, no matter how serious or how funny it gets, it always feels like really epic. Is what I can describe. One word I can describe each free action-packed story. And each episode just gets better and better. And the final episode of Black Panther one is actually this builds this opens the door for so many possibilities. You can tell he's like have a feeling he's going to get help from the Avengers. You know, he hasn't met the Avengers, and they don't know that actually a thing yet. He's going to get help from the Avengers or somebody. That's why he left like T'Challa. So yeah, that's how. And that's the end of this end of the story, and also the end of this episode 5 of season 1. So the first story is this guy Claw, and they sort of tie into each other, but they feel more like they're a separate thing. Identity of stories. Within a story, I mean. Stories within a story. So, and that's not really a bad thing. It actually works too. That's actually one of the strengths I think it works too. It does technically tie in together because there's a certain villain that gets mentioned in these three stories, and it's called, the villain's called Claw. And I remember him from that terrible adaptation of T'Challa in that Chadwick Baldwin movie called Black Panther, the worst thing that he's ever done in his career. Really nugget of his career, as in poop. A piece of shit, in other words, that movie was. So, Ant-Man is Ant-Man is doing tests on vibraniums and doing on a sample of vibranium because that's what S.H.I.E.L.D. wanted him to do. Nick Fury asked him to do that because he's the only one that has technology and the brains to do it. So people break into his lab, Claw and his army, and Ant-Man takes them down by shrinking down into ant size and beats them up really badly. And so they really get beat up really badly, and Claw just makes a run for it after they all shrink to after him, and presses a giant button and shrinks them all to ant level size. So and then beats them up even more, and Claw runs for it after running for ant size yet and running for it after. No, he doesn't run for it and make it run for it. Yes, he goes to toe with Ant-Man. Then when Ant-Man shrinks back, grows back to normal size, regrows Claw back to normal size. Then Claw makes a run for after Ant-Man kicks his ass. So, and our Army of Shield Nations and Wasp, Ant-Man's wife, come to see if Scott's okay. Not Scott, I mean, sorry, Scott's from the Ant-Man movies, from the Ant-Man movies in the MCU. Ant-Man, in this show, is Hank Pym, who, is the Ant-Man in the show, okay? I did the mix-up sometimes, so, when I get excited, okay? This is such a good episode. So anyway, they see he's perfectly fine. The labs are right back, and he kicked ass by himself. And it has a very humorous tone when the Shield isn't all shocked, and so is Janet shocked and confused and surprised that he actually kicked ass, because he's someone that, like, Hank in this version of Hank is someone that wants to talk things out and doesn't like to escalate the situation to a point it has to become physical, and to when he has to use his fist. So he's rather talk things out and instead he's also saying kind of passive but can fight like a total badass, and but rather would like to use his words rather people just use their words and then escalate the situation where they have to get physical, you know? And this is the first time we see him with this interviews Janet Van Dyne, the Wasp, and Ant-Man, Hank Pym's Ant-Man, into the series. This is the first time we see them, and it's the first time we see T'Challa's father, Black Panther, and T'Challa as Black Panther after his story ends. I'm not going to get into each person's story until I get to that point when it becomes necessary to talk about each person's story. So right now I'm just focusing on Hank. So Hank delivers this line to Janet, ask if she could do a favor for him. Could you clean up, she says, she was told by Hank if she can just make sure the ants don't eat the mercenaries that he shrink to ant level size. And I assume Janet does, but it's like in that episode that show was Jonas is saying ew to that thought. That's the grossest of it, like the ants eating people. That's the grossest of I guess. But it's to me it's most scary than gross out to me. But anyway, so now it's on Janet's story. So Janet is bored with doing nothing but doing tests in the lab with Hank, and she says we should be doing Morris life, and bank robbery happens, and which is being inside of a tornado that caused the bank robbery. He's a mutant, and so Janet decides to do something about it, and Hank decides to back her up, and she says, we should be doing this, helping people with our powers. You and your science. Me and our powers and your science and your brains. And he says violence doesn't violence doesn't solve anything, but he's so on board with letting the authorities, as in the cops, to handle the stuff, even when they use violence themselves. Hank's just basically up his own ass. And Jen's trying to say you're not getting it. Trying to tell me that he's up his own ass by saying you're not getting it. And Hank said, no, you don't get it. You're not trained for this. It's not a game. And then Hammer gets the bad guy gets the upper hand on Ant-Man, and he's down for the count. But Wasp is still going and dodging all the blades and punching two of the blades. Well, not punching. She kind of zapped the two blades and shattered the blaze with this about crumbs of metal after shooting with a wasp blast. And then takes the bad guy down after growing full size and blasts him in the face. And Hank's impressed, and she says, "I know this is not a game, Hank, but I'm telling you, we could really make a difference, and we can have a little fun." So this is after they have then Shield comes in with Nick Fury talking to them, and yeah, they tell them what the guy that they stopped with Man Tornado. It was a meeting. What he stole something for Claw, and Claw's still out there because Hank let him get away in the last story. Which he did little. He know that it was a bit of a major thing of letting him get away for his death. He's going to endanger millions and billions of people's life across the world. So, and Gahoos was this guy. Well, not Gahoos. I don't know what Gahoos means. I can't remember. But working with this other bad guy who's a Man Tornado, and working with this other bad guy who ties it to Charlotte's story, also known as Black Panther. So, Hank says to Nick Fury to go shove it after he realized that Nick Fury is trying to get them Shield because they want them to use their powers for Shield, because Nick Fury wants his own superhero team for Shield. So, and he sees right through his act. So he tells him to get lost, and this bails on Fury. And Boss more polite about, says sorry, and goes along with Hank, bailing on Fury. And now with the final story, and that's the end of that story. And that I told you all three of these stories got a 10 on their own, right? Yeah, I did. I forgot. Okay. And that was Black Panther story. Now this is really intense. So. Black Panther right now is T'Challa's father, who's active Black Panther now, who's going to go toe to toe with this big guy in a gorilla's costume. Now, if you think his name sounds familiar, that's going to toe to toe with Black. If the thing rings a bell to you, well, then his tribe rings a bell, called the Gorilla Tribe. That's because this is the same guy who's technically a bad guy in the comics, but they changed him into an anti-hero in the Black Panther movie in the third act after he lost to T'Challa in the first act of the movie, in the first Black Panther movie from 2018. And yes, there is going to be a sequel. Not going to have Chadwick Boseman or T'Challa, as far as I know. The character T'Challa, or played by Chadwick Boseman, because he's dead now. Well, so, yeah, this guy in gorilla costume is, the same guy that went toe-to-toe with Chadwick Boseman, and lost against T'Challa, because was against T'Challa in the Black Panther movie from 2018, and he ends up helping T'Challa and making peace with T'Challa, then helping him in Infinity War, and then he's a good guy because he's fighting alongside with T'Challa after making peace with him in the first Black Panther movie, and it carries into Infinity War, and boy, that's a mouthful. So. And he's a really cool bad guy in the comics and also in the cartoons. And he sounds a cool villain in the Black Panther movie, but then they decide to say, oh no, he's not a villain, he's just misunderstood, like the Skrulls, or like the comic characters, because they're clearly a version of Marvel's The Body Snatchers. How beautifully sympathetic. It's pathetic. So, yeah. And it was in the MCU, that's what they did with Skrulls, and that's what they did. This guy was just up as a gorilla who's a villain in Marvel Comics, and all Scott too, just like the Skrulls are. But no, let's make them the goody two-shoes guys. Yes! Brilliant! Bring on the mediocre predicament ideas. MCU, never change. More dumbness, more blandness, more blandness. We don't need more interesting villains. We need more interesting heroes. Even though we both, most of us, including myself, don't really remember majority of the villains that you made in the past. What's that elf name from the Dark World? Zono, Goloff, Gandalf the Grey, Party John. So yeah, fuck the MCU. But it's being lazy. Where's the villains, you know? The only made those changes and replaced it with blandness and stupid ideas was uninspiring concept of designs. Genius! I can smell the mediocrity. I haven't smelled such genius since they turned Galactus into a cloud and rises as a surfer from 2007. Genius, pure genius. Do more, be more lame, maintain your audience, control them, control the excitement, lower their expectations, don't give them more, don't increase the excitement, decrease, 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 decrease. And your color grading shows it. Do that with your coloring might make it look like chalk. That was written, to make it look like chalk on concrete. And make it look ugly as fuck, and not sex appealing as fuck, and stuff, and blah blah blah. We don't need colorful looking characters with inspiring personalities and inspiring designs like the stupid Avengers cartoon, including this one, Earth's Mightiest Heroes. It's not like it got praise. It's not like it's remembered. No, it's more the MCU that gets more of the glory for bringing the Avengers together. When this show did it first. Oh God, we live in a hell of a world. This is a crappy world we live in. I meant to say. So yeah, Black Panther goes against the guy in the gorilla costume who's child-pulled his father. I mean. Not Child-Boldy, T'Challa's father, because that's the character's name. Child-Boldy is the actor who played T'Challa, and my fans are, oh God, I'm rambling on again. So yeah. T'Challa's father loses, but by the gorilla guy in the costume having a guy in the shadows who is using technology very similar to Claw's technology that he used on Ant-Man in the first story. That's powered by vibranium. It turns out it was Claw that kills T'Challa's dad, and it was basically the vibrations within it causes it basically causes some sort of sonic wave, I guess, and so. T'Challa's father doesn't die from a fair fight because it takes him like a few shots of that sonic wave device gun to kill him. While the other guy is beating him in the head and broke off the Black Panther costume part of it, the face part of it. So yeah, so he's down for the count and dies in the fight. Then he takes over Wakanda. But everyone kneels to him, because it's like T'Challa could only was the one that knows that was willing to help him, but the rest of because like didn't want to help him because that's where you break in the rules and break in his bond. Goes wrong with his past family members. I guess I'm saying I wonder if like did any one of them notice that T'Challa wasn't in a fair fight, but the other guy was actually cheating by having a backup guy? I'm just saying, if one cheats, you gotta even the odds a little. So, yeah. So, anyway, T'Challa refuses to bow down. He just runs off, steals the Black Panther costume, and, well, the guy in the gorilla costume takes over Wakanda. It gives us a big picture of how he's on top of the food chain now, after being him and his tribe being on bottom of the food chain of tribe for so many years and being neglected. And Cole reveals himself that he was the one that helped that helped him to win the fight, to win the tournament of being king of Wakanda. And Black Panther, who is now the Black Panther who is dead, is died in an unfair fight, and now T'Challa, who was the son of the Black Panther who died, is stole the Black Panther. After seeing the Black Panther suit, next thing you see him, he's wearing it, and going to get some help in the city by leaving Wakanda for a period of time. So who knows how long? I can't remember how many episodes gets till we see him again, so he gets help from the Avengers. But anyway, yeah. So this episode was really good. I think each story in the stories was any story of this episode is the best story is the last one, is T'Challa's story, which is also his father's story. And, yeah, so this was really a good episode as a whole. It gives a 10 out of 10 for me, the whole episode as a whole. So, episode 5, season 1 of Avengers: Mightiest is really solid.